Good morning and welcome to the November Holmdel Chamber of Commerce ChamberCast. We're in gorgeous Bell Works, and we want to thank Ralph Zucker and his team for the incredible facility and all the wonderful things that are happening right at Bell Works. Go to bell.works for more information and come on down. Come down and join everyone on the block. So my name is Terrence Wall. I'm a co-founder of the Holmdel Chamber of Commerce. We're so happy that folks are here today to have incredible information that is important to both you and your family and your friends. Critical information with some statistical detail that will shock you. So most folks think that issues such as domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking don't enter their world. Folks, by the end of this conversation and by the end of this meeting, you're going to have information that can tell you and share with you that may not be the case. And so this meeting is about saving lives, helping people, and we're also remembering Stephanie Nicole Parze. Her father is here today, Ed Parze, and we thank you so much. And we're going to be talking about all the work in their foundation. And also Anna Diaz-White, who has been protecting lives and helping folks in domestic violence for over 40 years. The Holmdel Chamber of Commerce, as you can see, it's about business and nonprofit, also government and wellness. There's an intersection of all of these different things. And you're going to hear today some information that you're going to take with you, and we appreciate your being here today. In addition to streaming live on Facebook, and by the way, folks, feel free to share the information, share the content. You may know somebody in your world or your own family that needs this information. We're going to go around the room so folks can, that we also have a in-person audience here as well. We'd like to hear who you are and your company. We want to thank the chamber members and guests for being here this morning as well. So if we can go around the room, that would be wonderful too. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Colleen Regan. I live in Holmdel. My husband was born and raised. I work for Absolute Mortgage Company, and I'm very good friends with Terrence and Jeannie.
Welcome.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Hoffman. I'm the Administrative Assistant for the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Therese Rolke, and I'm the Executive Director of the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce, and always happy to collaborate with Miss Jeannie here.
Well, this is an amazing team. I don't think I've ever met, honestly, an executive director who does as much. I mean that. And how many events a month?
Oh my gosh, 10, 12.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thank you for all you do. You have a great team. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Howard Stein, owner-operator of Home Helpers Home Care here in Freehold, New Jersey.
Good morning, folks. My name is Kim LaMountain. I'm a Holmdel resident, been here for about 19 years. I'm also an attorney. I have a practice over in Woodbridge, and one of my areas of practice is divorce law, domestic violence, and I also prosecute over in Woodbridge, so I come across a lot of folks who are in court for domestic violence. I was excited to be here today because I know firsthand that the community needs to have much more awareness. Domestic violence, sexual assault, the trafficking. I'm running for Holmdel Township Committee tomorrow is the election, and it's important that the community understand everything going out there because so many victims don't have or don't believe they have the resources to go forward. So thank you for being here today.
And thank you for being here. Your attendance shows how much you care about the community.
Hi, my name is Randy Zamkachovich, and I am with 180 Turning Lives Around, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for including us.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Christine Menatalo, owner-operator of Alco Gardens Assisted Living for Alzheimer's. I'm also part of the Stephanie Parze Foundation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Christy's one of our new members for the Holmdel Chamber, so welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Al Aloisi, your independent insurance broker. I can shop around for you to find the best health rates and life insurance, annuities, and so on. Al Aloisi.
Good morning, Bill Strang, Wiley Promotions. I do all your promotional products, all your screen printing, embroidery, things like that. And I want to thank 180, a friend of my daughter's, had some serious issues with her ex, and you guys took good care of her. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Sherilyn Przlomski, Business Enhancement Services and Training Consulting. I'm a senior certified HR professional, and I just help the companies navigate those employment laws. And thank you so much for the awareness you're going to be sharing today. It's very appreciated.
Hello, my name is Paul Thurston. I'm the owner of T Marketing LLC, and I'm just here for support, to support, I should say. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dawn Masabny. My foundation is Don't Shock Me. It's in honor of my daughter who passed away a few years ago from menstrual toxic shock syndrome from a tampon. So our foundation educates and creates awareness to this disease that's been around for 40 years and hasn't been dealt with. We're trying to pass 3 bills into law. And what our foundation does is I travel the country speaking engagements to high schools, colleges, and organizations to help educate them so our tragedy does not happen to another family.
Thank you, Dawn. And you have an event coming up.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, we have a flag football tournament in honor of Maddie. My son is running it. Maddie was a cheerleader at the high school, and she absolutely loved football. So my son started this fundraiser. It's a flag football tournament all day. You go to it's on our website, but it's also under Eventbrite and everything. You can find it. There's a flyer out there floating to sign up if you want to come play and join in all the fun and camaraderie. We also have our EMS team from Rumson versus the Fairhaven team, the first game, and they battle it out with fighting over a trophy that they get to take home for the year. Seems to be a big deal for those two teams, but they're there in support because they knew my daughter very well, and it's a lot of fun to see them play. So that's the first game, and then all the others are just a bunch of friends and everything coming together for the cause and to have a fun day playing in our honor. So I hope you'll join us. Oh, by the way, fans are welcome to just sit in the stands and cheer them on and hoot and holler as well. Oh, the event is starts at 9 o'clock November 26th at Rumson Fairhaven High School on the turf. So thank you, everyone.
Good morning. I'm Carrie Kuskowski. I'm with The Connection. We're a managed IT service provider in Hazlet, New Jersey. And I also, well, not also, but I utilize 180 Turning Lives Around services. So thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm Jeannie Wall, and I'm the owner of Tap Into, publishing local news for Holmdel, Colts Neck, Middletown, Hazlet, and Keyport, and a lot of Monmouth County. I had over 71,000 readers last year. It's a wonderful platform to tell your story, advertise your business, and give me a call if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In a couple minutes, you're going to hear a few glaring statistics that will shock you, but statistics are not just numbers. They're names, their faces, their family members, their sons and daughters and aunts and uncles, people that are close to us, people that we know from school, people that we know from our workplace, and you're going to hear about some of those numbers in a moment. We're going to ask our guests to go over some of these things to make it really real and personal and actionable for everyone who's watching this, and anybody who you may share this content with, somebody who you know is impacted and needs this information. Because we're also going to share resources. There will be phone numbers and websites and different kinds of things that tell folks that you have done nothing wrong, that you are innocent, that you are empowered, that you are strong, and there are people in places that are behind you 100% and are watching your back, and all you need to do is reach out and set the chain in motion, and you too will be empowered, and you can be safe, and you are an innocent person who has done nothing wrong. That's a very important message for people to know. We have two very special guests today that I mentioned a little earlier. They're really boots on the ground in the fight against domestic violence, sexual assault, and crimes involving, and listen closely, human trafficking and missing persons. And guess where? High school. High school. So anyone who has a student in high school, or knows a student in high school, or is a teacher in high school, or is in high school themselves as a student, you want to listen to this information. It's happening and it's real, and it's happening right in the United States of America and right in New Jersey. The executive director of 180 Turning Lives, Anna Diaz-White, is with us. She has nearly 40 years of experience working with 180 in the fight against domestic violence. Ed Parze, also founder of the Stephanie Nicole Parze Foundation, will share his family's personal story of tragedy and his mission to raise awareness and implement programs combating domestic violence, sexual assault, and crimes involving abduction, human trafficking, and missing persons. The organization, Stephanie Nicole Parze Foundation, was formed with love in memory of his daughter. And you're going to learn much about the organization. Please support the organization, look it up, and other similar organizations of folks combining their resources to protect folks out there, both men and women, boys and girls. I want to share a couple of quick items, but before I do, with Anna Diaz-White, Ed, can you share with us some of the statistics, some of the raw numbers, folks? I understand in a woman's lifetime, 1 in 4, 25% of the women, for example, in this room, will experience domestic violence. Some of those stats, in college, 1 in 5 that will be a victim of sexual assault. These are shocking numbers. If you just take a population, if you have a room of 20 people, you have a good idea of how many are going to be impacted and how personal it is. Can you?
Yeah, it's becoming, it is a very big problem, especially in this country, but it's all over the world, it's not just here. If you look at, like, every 20 minutes, somebody's getting abused one way or the other, whether it's going to be sexually abused or physically abused. The numbers that you just said, 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men, they're real. They're not something that we just pull out of the top. When they do the surveys and we do the national statistics with our hotlines and the national surveys for all the stuff that's coming in on the police reports, these are the numbers that are coming in. And it's scary because if you turn around, we got 20, 30 people sitting here, one in every 4 of you ladies sitting here, could be a victim right now, and it's scary.
Yes.
I also want to add that those are police-reported cases, and how many victims never report to the police because of fear of reprisal or other reasons. So in particular with sexual assault, it's a fraction of people that report to the police.
You're so right. The non-reporting, if you took those numbers that we just talked about, I would say at least triple them.
Yeah.
I mean, because the number of people that are not reporting it because of the fear, like Anna said,
Yep.
it's real. It's really scary.
Well, and particularly in universities, right, where almost 90% are not reported. You're watching your child's every step from K through 12, and then they go off to the college or university, and it's a totally different situation. They're on their own for their first time,
You're right.
and then up to 90% are not reported.
And in fact, for females, the highest rates of sexual assault and dating violence are when they're juniors, seniors in high school, and then freshman year is one of the biggest times for sexual assault of females.
I mean, you look at my daughter Stephanie, 25 years old. Right, she's not a little girl. Twice, the first 2 assaults never reported, not even to her parents, to her sisters. So that right there, and that's. They were minor assaults at that point, right? It only escalates from there. So that gives you an example right there, how it just happens to everybody, and it's just fear. It's just fear.
And tell us about Stephanie. We're here to also remember your beautiful daughter.
Well, Stephanie was, a vibrant 25-year-old young woman who was gorgeous, as you can see. Just give it full life. So if you're having a party, she's the one you wanted at the party. She'd walk in, the music would go on, and the drinks would start flowing, and she'd be out there having to go lucky. And she was also the type of person that would give you the shirt off her back, if without even asking for anything in return. She loved kids, she loved life, and she was just starting out on her journey. She was cut short, and it was cut short in a fast manner. I mean, a lot of domestic violence lingers. It takes a while to get to this point. Hers went from 0 to 100 in less than 3 months. Mm-hmm. So, and believe it or not, it was even less than that because the first month they were only talking on the internet. They haven't even met yet. So we figured 2 months. Mm-hmm. All right. So that really escalated through it. She was very strong. So, and I would imagine that the reason why she didn't tell us about the first 2 things is because obviously she wanted to get us upset, but she wanted to handle it herself. Right. She's that kind of person that would get right in your face if she had to. So she figured, I guess, she can take care of it herself. And, these people are masters of manipulation. Right. And when I say masters of manipulation, I don't care how smart you think you are, how much you think you know, how strong you believe you are. Once they get into your head and they start twisting things and making things happen, you start believing that, did I make the mistake or did I do something wrong? And that's what makes most of these people come back.
Right.
And I mean, Anna will tell you, what does it take, average of 7 times before they try to leave, before they can actually leave?
And I'll tell you what, Ed, from the many years of surveys we've done of people that have participated in our services, the number one feedback that we get was when they were in a support group, that's when they realized, oh, it's not me, I'm not crazy, I didn't cause this happens to other people, because all along they've been told, you're the one, if it wasn't, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't have had to hit you, strangle you, beat you, stalk you, or whatever. And they believe it. And I think one of the things that Ed said that's so important is that generally abuse escalates. So it may start with verbal abuse. It may start with, a push, a shove, a slap, a stalking, etc. But it can very quickly accelerate into physical abuse and even homicide. And the thing is, you don't always know who's going to be the one where that's going to happen. And people really need to reach out. You're not alone,
Yeah, I mean, Stephanie's situation was, like I said, the first time she came over the house, she asked her mother, she said, do you see a mark on the side of my face? Now, Stephanie was a makeup artist, so she covered it up really well. And my wife said, no. Why? I was horse playing around with her ex, and, I just banged my head against the wall. Not thinking anything of it, because that happens between, couples. We let it go. It escalated to the second time where he actually grabbed her. He's 6'2". She's 4'11". He grabbed her by the neck, picked her up, slammed her against the wall. Okay, that time you would think she would call somebody. Well, she did. She called her ex-boyfriend, which she was still friendly with. Only through him is how we found out what was going on. And then the last escalation was the major assault when he started hitting her in the house, and she had to leave, run away, and I had to go get her. And then after that, she was killed. So 4 steps, that's how fast that went.
Yeah. And I think, Ed, you pointed out that she was strangled. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the many things that I hope viewers and listeners get out of today's program, is that strangulation is one of the precursors to homicide. And so it places the victim in such a high rate of being killed that you should not take it for granted for a moment. If you've been strangled, some people call it choking, but it's really an attempted strangulation. Take that seriously, because you are at risk of much worse injury.
What's really scary about strangulation now is, especially parents now, talk to your children, because it's the in thing right now to do during sexual activity. All right, whether you believe that or not, asphyxiation through strangulation is like an arousal for some people, and they try it. And it only takes seconds to hold it too long, do something too long, and that person goes unconscious. And 9 out of 10 times, the person that is doing the strangling doesn't, realize, oh my God, and what do I do now? It's too late. If they don't know how to revive that person's going to be gone, or at least maybe brain dead. It's terrible. But it's going through the schools and through the high schools and through the colleges mainly, that this is happening more and more every day. So you need to have that conversation as parents with your kids, and I don't care how old they are. It doesn't matter. All right, if they're younger or they're older, if they're starting to be sexual active, you need to talk to them about strangulation, because it's a real deal.
That word, I am confident that so many people just stopped in their tracks and stood up straight and sat up straight, saying, what? So what other key screaming red signals for families might they be thinking about? And with someone who is a narcissist, just deeply manipulative, how do folks that care about, obviously their loved one, what very subtle items should they be looking for to kind of peel back that onion, if you would, and what do they do? Because many young adults, they're fine, everything's good, nothing to see here, how was the day, it was great, and they're not sharing with you. And that's with so many young adults. Yeah. How do you break through that? How do you navigate that as a parent, or an uncle or aunt or friend or neighbor, or even a peer? Right. How do you help? How do you pull that back?
So one of the things that we found is, and a lot of your, especially young viewers and listeners will know this term, love bombing, where the person is so intensely crazy about you, and they need to see you every minute, every day. They need to have, call you, that you need to check in regularly and that sort of thing. And when you're a young person, especially a young woman, but even a young man, that's so flattering, right? This person is crazy about me. They, I must be, really attractive to them, and et cetera.
They love you in 2 days.
Of course.
It comes out.
And you know what? That is a red flag, folks. And anyone out there listening, that is a red flag. Nobody falls in love like that.
That fast, right?
That fast. And if somebody needs that much contact with you and is monitoring your comings and goings, and or how about criticizing what you're wearing? That skirt's too short, or
Exactly.
I saw you talking to that guy. Who is he? And those things. When you're a young person, sometimes you misconstrue those kinds of things as the jealousy is flattering. But it's a red flag, again, for somebody who could potentially be an abuser.
And how about go ahead, Ed.
You can look into, I think you're going to say it, isolation.
Isolation, yeah.
A lot of times what they'll do is they'll start isolating you.
Right.
And you don't know, they don't know what's happening. They just, all of a sudden, it's, let's always go to my friend's house, let's always go to my family's house, let's not go to yours at all. Right. We don't want to go to any functions that you want to do, we're not going to any sporting events, anything like that.
Right.
And you don't realize that you're doing it because you love that person, or you think you love that person,
Right.
so you're going to keep going and appeasing them.
Right.
Well, that's a flag, because now you're alone.
Right.
And there's nothing out there.
And we've seen where the abuser will cause a fight with family members or friends of that victim.
Just to push away.
Yeah, just to isolate them that much further.
It happens all the time. I mean,
Yes.
And
You're absolutely right.
another couple of flags also is you have to be. My foundation has a thing they call the Parze philosophy, which I just told Anna about. It's called the Parze philosophy. Next, I teach my daughters all the time. If somebody puts their hands on you, they degrade you, use vulgarity, embarrass you in front of people, anything like that. Those are all flags, because somebody who loves you is not going to do that.
Right.
Okay, and if they do, it's by mistake, and then they will obviously apologize. But somebody who really cares about you is not going to do that. And we have that thing, if that happens right away, it's next. And my girls have always been next, including Stephanie. I mean, Stephanie was in that process of pushing this guy out.
Yeah.
And we know that as soon as they push them out is the most dangerous time for these people.
Right.
That was
Okay?
something I was going to ask you. When is the most dangerous time?
That is the most dangerous time, when they exit a relationship.
Yes.
And it could be for the first time, it could be for the 10th time. Doesn't matter. Once they decide that they're going to push away and get away from this person, obviously they're not answering their phone calls anymore. They're neglecting them. I mean, Stephanie's predator, his two triggers were to be ignored or to be denied.
Mm-hmm.
So when she told him that this was over after I talked to her and we were ending this, she didn't answer the phone. He's blowing the phone up, he's texting her, he's showing up at her work and everything, and she's ignoring this guy.
Right.
Flag number one,
Yes.
and there goes his trigger.
Yep.
All right. He went nuts.
Yep.
Showed up at the house that night.
How do you manage the individual who says, if you call the police, I'll kill you, or if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to kill myself?
Yeah,
The
that's another
opposite,
one.
and flipping it around.
And that's another red flag, right? If the person, can't live without you and they're going to kill themselves
Right.
if you leave them, man, you're in danger.
Yeah,
You are in danger.
We that night after Stephanie met, well, actually right before Stephanie went with the 180's advocate, and we brought her to the police station. Before we got to the police station, now this is right after she was beat up, she told me that she was not going to press charges, and that she was not going to take out a restraining order. So now I'm thinking to myself, how does she even know about a restraining order, first of all? Because this guy told her, if you press charges on me, or if you get a restraining order against me, I'm going to kill your siblings, or I'm going to hurt your parents.
Right.
I didn't find this out until later, way later, like way after she was gone. All right. So this is what happens. That's part of the manipulation. Back to that again, that they just keep pulling you in and holding you in. That they don't let it go, and that's the most dangerous times right there when you leave, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to pull out all the stops, and they're going to do everything they possibly can because they want to keep that control, that power and control. It's what it's all about. And they see you slipping away, and they got to do something to get you back.
So for the victim who knows they have to go, but they recognize they have to go, but they don't know how, what does a safe plan look like? I believe in your organization you have safe planning techniques and things that you need to do to get on to a better part of your life journey. What does that look like?
Right. So it could be, something like the PALM, the Stephanie's
the Angel Alert program.
Alert, for example, that
it's a
that the
little
Parze
device that
Foundation
they can
provides.
carry
Let's
with
talk
them.
about the Angel Alert program.
Yeah, the Angel Alert program is something we started. It's a little mechanical device that's like a push button, like if you used to see you press the button at home to get help.
Right.
Okay, only this one, you can take it anywhere you want in the United States. It tracks you up to 30 feet from wherever you are. It can talk to you from a live dispatcher. It does a bunch of different features, but it's a peace of mind to have in your pocket that, God forbid something happens, you have that button. So that's one thing you can use as a tool to help. Okay,
Right.
there are many things.
Right.
Packing a bag. You should always have if you feel something starting to go on and you have that inclination that you're going to start getting out, have something. Have some money put away somewhere.
Right.
A bag put away, keys,
Right.
extra car keys, credit card, things that the other person doesn't know, obviously,
Right.
it's happening.
If you have a trusted friend that you can leave those things with, that's important too. I think planning to leave is important. I think not necessarily what's the word? Publicizing is the wrong word, but
Broadcasting it.
broadcasting it to the abuser is probably not a good idea, right? You don't want to give them a heads up.
Or to their friends.
Or to their friends that you have this in mind. Quite honestly, getting a restraining order is important if at all you can feel comfortable doing that, because it protects you in the sense that when you have a restraining order, you call the police. The police can and really must arrest that violator of the restraining order. If you don't have the restraining order, the police can't do anything. There's no law against the person being, on your doorstep.
Right. Unless there's physical signs of something
Right.
have happened.
Right.
I mean, fortunately in New Jersey, if there are physical signs, the police can just arrest right there. They
Correct.
don't need to.
Right.
In Stephanie's case, she wouldn't sign, so they
Right.
signed.
Right.
But they have to see something. So if
Yeah.
it's your word against theirs and you're going back and forth and you're both arguing in the middle of the street, I mean, I responded to many domestic violence calls when I was in law enforcement, and that's the worst case call you can go to, because you got to figure out what's going on. And
Right.
it gets dangerous because as soon as you want to arrest one person, the other one starts jumping on you, and even though they were fighting.
Right.
It's scary.
And a lot of these fights are on social media, right? So are victims also documenting the threats that come in, text messaging and things of that nature?
That's
or
something we
are,
recommend.
Are the actors, the violent offenders, taking over their social media, and when they're reaching out to friends, trying to get into their text messages and their phones and restricting and narrowing their world? Is that something perilous as well? Because you can have a victim texting a friend, and then their phone is grabbed by the assailant.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, no, that definitely happens. Depending on the situation, of course, every situation is different. We recommend, keep a record of those threatening text messages, letters, notes, conversations that you had with friends, after an incident. Take pictures of injuries. Have as much information about what's happened, because if you do decide to press charges, one of the things we were talking about earlier today was it's not just the one incident, but you really sometimes have to establish with the court a history of things that have been happening in order to obtain a restraining order.
Yep. You have to do that because, they will manipulate their phones and stuff like that. You have to watch what they're writing, too. Be careful what they're putting on their phone because they'll take it and start reading it. We both of our websites, if you're on our websites, there's a button there. You just press and it's an escape button just to get you off of there so they don't look at it and see what's going on.
And track your history.
It is real. It is definitely real.
Yes. Do you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to turn it around a little bit, or maybe a lot. If someone shared a piece of content they're watching on Facebook and they're recognizing those traits in themselves, right? Someone who is perhaps jealous, insecure, engaged in substance abuse, and is going down a very dark path, and recognizing that before they go beyond, cross that line. If there are folks that, and this is a really more psychology question, but if folks are listening and they're recognizing those behavior traits in themselves, it's kind of flipping it.
Right.
What should they be doing?
So Terrence, there's abuser intervention programs throughout the state. There's one actually that operates in Monmouth County that we refer to, and if you are a person who's finding that you have these behaviors towards
or
someone
family
you
member
love,
sees it in somebody.
there are programs It's hard to say how effective they are because there's not a lot of research on these programs. They're kind of early on. They haven't been around all that long.
Yeah, we just started 2 programs just now. One is called COPE. It's the Circle of Angels program, and it's a peer-led program that it's a support group. That if they feel they're in trouble or think they're heading down that path, they can sit in on these groups and vent it out. The most important thing is to go out and seek help. And there's so many different avenues you can do that in.
Right.
So that's one thing we offer. And another thing that we're noticing is a lot of the senior citizens right now that are caregivers are watching their grandchildren and so forth. They're noticing abuse on the kids. Okay, and so we have a program also which we teach the senior citizens what to look for and what to be out for. And that's not just for the kids; it's also for elderly abuse. So there's things like that. There's plenty of resources. 180 has a lot. We have a lot, but they're all over. If they Google resources for that kind of stuff, you'll see there's a lot of resources out there for it.
I mean, I hope that your viewers and listeners today take away from this conversation that we're having that there is help available. You should not go through this alone. If you have doubts or questions, you're not sure if you're a victim, you think maybe possibly what this was abuse, but you're not sure, call our hotline. Go to the website. Go to the Parze Foundation website. Go to the 180 website. Google things, as you said, Ed. Don't think that there isn't support because there's a large number of services available to help you get through this, to help you navigate it, to help you figure out what's going on and how to get to the other side.
You never know what's going to trigger you to move. All right. So many people tell us that just by hearing Stephanie's story, that's why we tell it all the time, that moves them to be compelled to do something, especially get away from their alleged victims or perpetrators. So go on the website. The whole story is pretty much on there. I mean, go on 180. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there. I mean, the resources are definitely out there. You just got to be willing to take that step. And that's the hardest thing, is taking that step.
That's right. And for the folks that are listening, let me go over a few of those resources right now, and perhaps you can talk about Amanda Ziesel and some of the other programs that are out there. 180 Turning Lives Around, they have an emergency shelter for Monmouth County victims. It's the state's largest safe house for families fleeing abuse, and it was erected under Anna's leadership. A transitional housing program, the Shore Regional Outreach Program, which is a program based on the needs of underserved populations. There are resources for everyone, every single person. Amanda Ziesel, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. It's a creative arts therapy program for child trauma victims, horrifically, child trauma victims. Domestic and sexual violence crisis response teams. A formalized crisis response in partnership with law enforcement, 180 clinicians in area hospitals as well. There's a second floor youth helpline addressing the needs of youth throughout the state, a family justice center, a national model of support for victims of sexual assault, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and human trafficking, which we want to talk about before we finish today and open it up to questions. So these are some of the items that are in your wheelhouse and also yours, Ed. Can you talk about Amanda Ziesel and talk about the impact, the traumatic impact of children?
Right. So when a child witnesses or experiences themselves domestic violence, it has profound effects on them. And that's, we call them the silent victims because very often, we'll talk to a survivor and say, this assault or these things have been happening to me, but my kids don't know anything about it. And it's like, because they were sleeping. And I can tell you, if you're listening or hearing watching this today, the kids are never sleeping. They know what's going on in the household. They feel the tension. And sometimes they are injured as they try to support the victim, during an assault. And the trauma they experience is tremendous. And with kids, they can't verbalize, what they're feeling. If you know yourself, if you ask, your kids or your grandkids, how you doing? How was school today? Fine. Good. They can't tell you what's going on verbally. But Amanda Ziesel is a program where kids tap into their feelings through the use of art and music and play therapy, movement therapy, guided by licensed clinical therapists. So it's not just arts and crafts, it's arts and crafts with a purpose, with a therapist working with that child to get them to tap into their feelings and express their emotions. Because I think we have all experienced that feeling of a burden being lifted when you express something that's happened to you. And the same thing happens for kids in the Amanda Ziesel program.
And don't forget about the siblings. You know, when you talk about kids, you think it's the kids that are part of the family. It's in the middle of the fight. You got siblings also of the victims and of the those kids get just as much mental abuse as the rest of them, and they need help just as well. So you got to keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And before we open up to questions, I wanted to go over a very important topic that we mentioned earlier is regarding human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
For most folks, they think that is in a country far away. That's in a totally different world. Meanwhile, it's right here in New Jersey and in the high schools, frighteningly enough. So if you can talk about that, and also regarding missing persons, one of the questions that some folks may have is, how long do you wait if somebody is gone on a vacation, if they can't locate them, or they know that they're missing and they're concerned? What are some of the details with that and human trafficking in general for high schools and other age groups?
Well, it is a huge problem throughout this country, especially, and it's right under our noses, which you don't really realize because people turn a blind eye to it because they don't know what's happening. In this country alone, over 600,000 people go missing every year.
So in the United States, 600,000 people go missing every single year.
Okay, that's 1 every 11 minutes.
Wow.
Okay, right now, currently in New Jersey, there's 299 people missing actively on the missing roster, okay, that are out there somewhere for an array of different reasons. There's over 11 different reasons why you can go missing. But one of the biggest problems right now is the human trafficking and the sex trafficking. And a scary statistic, one of the questions that we ask in our presentations, when we do our presentations, is how many of you have been approached or know that you've been approached by a human trafficker? And when we're in the high schools, the kids are all like, sometimes somebody will raise their hand, but most of them don't know. They don't know, and that's a good thing because they're still here. If they knew, they probably wouldn't be here. But the statistic that scares you is 1 out of every 3 high school students, before they graduate, will be approached by a human trafficker. Now, you think, how's that happen? Well, it's happening on social media rampantly. It's happening in the actual high school, which is scary. Okay, it's happening in public. It's happening at the workplace. Right? It happens all over. And what these people do, we call them feelers. A feeler will start off as a stalking, believe it or not, which runs under our domestic violence. They'll start off as a stalking just to see if they can find the actual vulnerabilities in certain people. And they're looking for the loners, they're looking for runaways, they're looking for people with bad family lives, people always stay to themselves, depressed, stuff like that. And then what they'll do is they'll befriend them. And once they start befriending them, they'll start drawing them in with gifts and this and that, and they finally start making them think that they're the only person that matters at that point. And once they get them into that realm, then it's time for the next team to kick in, and that team is the one that usually takes you and
if they're alone, they may not have a support structure that will notice these things and engage and protect them.
It is so important for families to communicate. You have, I have my youngest daughter right now. She's I call her the room monitor. She stays in the room all day long, does her makeups and all that stuff like that. But we still make sure we burst into that room every few minutes and just say hello, because you have to keep that communication. Because if you don't keep that communication, you don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to monitor what they're doing on social media. Don't be afraid to press the button on their phone to track them where they are. We tell them also, give your parents a little bit of your privacy. Keep your trackers on your phone on all the time. They're not going to sit there and check where you are all the time. Maybe when you first get your car or stuff like that. But without that, if you go missing, that might be the only way we find you, or at least find the location that you went missing in. Right, so it's very important to do that stuff. Right. Yeah, those statistics are scary, and they're not getting any better.
Right.
And it happens in the United States all the time. The sex trafficking in the United States is really rampant,
right.
And so is the workforce trafficking. They'll put you in these sweatshops, and they're underground, so right. you don't know what's happening, and you don't see that person anymore.
Yeah. And New Jersey has a corridor, kind of the because we're close to New York and Philly, the I-95 corridor, et cetera, is well known for trafficking.
Traffickers Highway, that's what it's called. Yep.
And what should schools be doing? If school administrators, are you finding that they're active or they're not addressing this as far as assemblies or educating, informing students?
I have to be honest with you, I'm a little scary because I've done presentations recently to superintendents of most of the school districts and stuff to try and get into the high schools and
Yes.
into the grammar schools. And we start mentioning things like love bombing and missing persons and trafficking, and they don't really know what we're talking about. So
Okay.
that's a little scary.
Right.
So one of the things that we told them was, instead of us doing a presentation for the kids, we're going to do it for the faculty first, then the parents, then the kids. This way everybody's on the same page and they know what's going on. And that seems to be working now. We just started in Long Branch High School for the pilot. Went over very well. So it's starting to spread a little bit.
Well, I volunteer as a Board of Ed member in Holmdel Schools, and I certainly will refer this information to the school superintendent to take a serious look at incorporating this
us in there.
into the
We'd love to
curriculum.
talk to them.
Jeannie? Oh.
I just want to make a quick comment to your point. I know for a fact that there were young teenage girls from a town very close to here that got on a train. I don't know if you're familiar with the case, and they were headed out of here. I mean, fortunately, the FBI, I think, was working the case from the other end or some form of law enforcement, and those girls were rescued, but they were missing.
Yeah,
You probably know the
they had a
case.
spotter.
You know what I'm
spotter
talking
working
about.
the case, which is a spotter is what an informant. You know, somebody that was inside and was listening to everything that was going on, and they followed the kid, they tracked the kids, and they
Right, and they
They're
got
very
onto,
lucky.
they got onto a train from Red Bank. So this is hyper local that it's happening. And I received the information. I didn't have all the facts to do an article, but at the same time, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
This is happening in every
our community, right?
Right in our community,
Right.
it's happening.
It's happening right here.
And the thing is, regardless of the community, it's not happening over there. It happens to people with means. It happens to all races, ethnicities, religions, backgrounds, you name it. We all like to think it happens to somebody else, but that's not the case.
It's just like substance use disorders. It's
right. It can happen
Yeah.
to anyone and does.
Remember, it's every 11 minutes one person goes missing. So think about that when you start spreading that through here. I mean, Stephanie's case started as a missing person. That's how it started for 87 days. The Long Branch High School, the reason why we're there is because they had a young girl who went missing and was murdered before we came in. It's all over the place. So when these kids start hearing that, their eyes wake up. And you know, one of the biggest misnomers that's out there, and it's really crazy, when somebody goes missing, and I'm not talking about the 3-year-old or 2-year-old, because when they go missing, you're on the phone like that. When somebody goes missing that's of age, you know, an adult, people tend to wait before they call 911, all right? That's because we watch too much TV. We're watching all these Law and Orders and this and that, and they tell you wait 24, 74, 72 hours. There is no waiting. You call immediately. No one knows the person better than you do. Okay, you have that gut feeling that something's wrong,
Right.
you get on that phone.
Right.
Because time saves lives. I mean, the longer you wait, the further that person is away from you, and that's not good. And it makes it harder for us to find them, makes it harder for us to track the person. So you don't wait, you just call right away.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. Did you have anything to add regarding missing persons and the high school?
Well, we also go out to the schools to talk about dating violence and sexual assault because of the high incidence of these things in the schools, you know, in young people's relationships. And so similarly, you know, it's really alerting kids to what's going on, to warning signs, to where to get help, and how to avoid these issues.
One other thing I want to just mention, there's also a big rise in the number of drinks that are being drugged out in the nightclubs and in the bars and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
It is imperative that these people, the kids, know that they got to watch their drinks. Don't share their drinks. Okay, I mean, we have a little thing called a nightcap that it's a scrunchie that the girls put in their hair or on their wrist. Inside that is a cap that goes on your drink. Okay, and they put a
Right.
straw in it. I mean, little simple things like that could maybe make the world of a difference.
Right.
Because if you go on TikTok, which is huge right now, and just scroll through TikTok, you'll see actual things that are happening. People film this stuff, right? And you'll see these girls that are sitting at the bar. 2 seconds later, somebody walks past them, distracts them, and the guy on the other side is dropping the pill in.
Right.
Right. Next thing you know, the girl's falling all over the place. So the guys are being heroes. Now they're going to carry them outside and put them in their car, not your car, to take them home.
Right.
And if somebody doesn't intervene there, you're not going to see that girl anymore.
Right.
Or whatever. It could be that boy, too. It happens just as much
Yeah.
to the men as it does to women.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with domestic violence. It's just as bad with the men as it is with the women. So you have to be very vigilant nowadays. It's very scary out there.
It's absolutely shocking. We're going to open up to questions in a moment here, and then when we come back, want to go over the foundation how folks can reach out to the foundation, support it, any events that are coming up, and your organization as well. And we're also, Ming is kind enough to help list phone numbers and resources and things of that nature on the live feed. But we'd like to open it up for questions. You've heard some exceptionally powerful information, and we hope it gets to the folks, the ears that need to hear it and the eyes that need to see it. Go ahead. We're ready. Thank you.
With I think you said Amanda's Easel, the program for the kids, what happens if someone financially doesn't have money to pay for that sort of therapy, or doesn't
So all
have
our
any
services are
insurance?
free.
Okay.
There's no charge for any of our services, whether it's shelter or temporary housing or counseling or the art therapy program for kids, assistance at family court. All of our services are free. So money is not a barrier to getting help.
And is that just Monmouth County, or is that throughout the state?
So our services are for Monmouth County residents, but there's a program like ours in every county in New Jersey. So again, they're not, none of us charge for our services, and you can call either the statewide hotline or your local county hotline and get the support that you need.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And there's another wonderful program called Open Heart Yoga, and Felicia Stoller's involved with that. Marianne Sells programs in Red Bank, and also a good friend of mine, Abby Filer. They're all working there teaching yoga and helping people work through trauma after domestic abuse, sexual assault, and any kind of abusive relationship. So that program is just excellent. I wanted to make sure I said that. Anyone else?
Thank you. Someone like to ask another question?
How we doing? I know it's important to talk with your children, and I'm sure when most of us grew up, when Dad came home for dinner, it was quiet, and you prayed the phone didn't ring. But with my children, every day we would sit down and we would talk at dinner and discuss our day. Who did you meet? Who did you hang out with? Where did you go? What did you do? And my wife had a thing with my kids, and it was every step of the way, she called it. And wherever they went, if they went from somebody's house to someone else's house, she said, I'm leaving Stephanie's house, I'm going to Mary's house. I'm going to, and you call me when you get there. And it was every step of the way. So it's so important to have the communication with your children. So I thank you. Today, my heart is broken for you.
That importance is very big, because when Stephanie left our house that night, first thing her mother said to her was, make sure you text or call as soon as you get home. Of course, we never got that text message or a call, but that's how it started the ball rolling. And we knew something was wrong because she was so close to us, and we knew that she would definitely be texting and stuff, that we knew something was wrong immediately. So that's very important, to be bonded like that.
Thank you.
And it just shows a loving, caring, doting family. In the best of situations, you can be met with unimaginable tragedy. Your love and the family's love and legacy, Stephanie Nicole is saving lives through you by communicating with folks here, by communicating with people that aren't here but watching this streaming live on Facebook. That legacy of love is so important, and we're so honored that you would be here today to share your story, because Stephanie is saving lives. Your beautiful daughter is saving lives. The ripples in the pond, we never know. We never know where they go. But they travel in places that we see, and so many times travel in places that we'll never see at all and we'll never know. But out there, there's a benefit to folks that are suffering in silence, and now they know that there are more resources than they could have imagined possible. Can you share the foundation, the website, which we also have out there, and how folks can get involved, and perhaps the mission statement of the foundation, of your daughter, so people have it, so they know that leaving this meeting today, they understand exactly what it's about and how they can be involved and be empowered.
Well, obviously we started Stephanie's foundation after she passed, and we brought her home. You can always go to our website. It's smpfoundation.org. Our phone number is listed on the podcast. You'll see on the bottom there. Phones are answered 24 hours a day, although we do not have a official hotline. It doesn't matter. If somebody calls us, we're going to get them the right resources. If I have to transfer them to Anna's hotline, whatever we have to do, we're going to get them the resources. We're kind of like a one-shop deal. We're not going to say no to anybody. So if you call, we're going to try and get you help. Our mission statement is to educate, intervene, and support victims and individuals of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and missing loved ones. So it's kind of a broad statement, and it entails a lot, not because each one of those facets have a big problem, for lack of better words. We are coming out with several different programs. By the end of this year, we should have 9 different programs that are in place. One of the ones that is really going to be big at the end of next year, hopefully, is going to be our Missing Persons Family Assistance Unit. And this is be covering the entire state. 5-person teams that'll be able to assist the family. Now, we're not putting boots on the ground, per se. We're going to assist the family in doing what people did for us, getting the logistics out there, getting the signs out there, getting the posters out there, organizing the searches for them, being a liaison between them and the law enforcement, which is a big thing. Okay, because that's where the breakdown usually comes, and you always hear, "Oh, the police aren't doing anything." Oh, they're doing it. It's just you don't know what they're doing. So we would help you with that. So that's one of the big things. Our COPE program, like I said before, the support groups, is going to start December 5th. Actually, it starts this year. We have partnered with another great agency, Safe Way Out, who is going to be going through self-defense and awareness training and education, and we're going to partner with them on some initiatives with that, and that should be starting with December as well. Our Angel Alert program, of course, our Care Bag program, which we donate to the safe houses in the state. Last year we did Monmouth and Ocean County. This year we'll be doing Monmouth, Ocean, and Middlesex County. And that's essential bags of stuff that go to the safe house victims when they first come into the safe house to get them started, which we hope that helps, and apparently it does.
It does.
So we're doing a lot of stuff. We're always looking for new members, of course. To be a member is very simple. You just go on our website. It's right on there. You can fill out the information, and there's a simple background check that they have to go through and so forth. And then we will vote you in, and then you'll be part of our angel family, which they call them Steph's Angels. And then we'll put you to work. You're going to come on, make sure you're there to work. We're going to put you
ready
to work.
Now, would it be accurate to say, just to put it out there, that if you're in an emergent situation, there are a number of different contact pieces of information and websites and things like that, but if you're in an emergency situation, it's pretty straightforward, 911, correct?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so you've been advocating for a few decades now. I have a question, and then also I just want to emphasize 911. If you're in doubt, it's 911,
Right.
and start that chain of command and get those folks out there that can help you and help save your life. What's changed over the course of the last couple of decades? Are the statistics more glaring, or I'm just curious, what's different, or is it the same?
I don't know that it's more glaring. I think more people know that there is help available, so I think there's that. And I've also seen a tremendous change in law enforcement's response to domestic violence and sexual assault. You know, when I first started, which is, 38 years ago, which is a long time ago, I was 12, law enforcement was not as responsive to domestic violence and sexual assault victims. And also, there was no law to protect victims. So in New Jersey, we have the Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, which came about in 1981, but was only really officially police trained, et cetera, on it in the mid-'80s. That made a sea change in the way law enforcement responds to domestic violence. So years ago when I first started, if the police were called to an incident of domestic violence, they'd say, "Hey, you know what? Go take a walk around the block, cool off. Things will calm down, and that sort of thing." That is not anywhere near the case today. There's standard operating procedures for all police officers. There's trainings that we participate in to make sure that officers are sensitive to victims, and so I mean, to me, that's one of the biggest changes, because when a law enforcement officer believes you, is sensitive to what you have to say, that can really make a difference as well.
And to your question about if we think it's been heightened, I will say yes, and it's heightened because of the work that all the agencies are doing. It's more in the public eye now. Mm-hmm. It's being brought out, so people are seeing it more often, which is great because the awareness is getting out there, and that's the focus of it, to get the awareness out. It's not that it's been rampant, like getting any worse. It's just that now people are actually starting to see it, especially with social media. It's all over. You can see everything we do. So,
well, and what's interesting, and just to take it in a different turn as well, is that a few decades ago, that generation growing up their experience was walk around the block.
Right.
Can you speak to geriatric abuse? Because
Yeah.
it really spans the years, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you may have generations that think that there is the prior level of responsiveness and have absolutely no belief that there are a set of standards that
Right.
are different. Can you speak to the older set, as it were?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, we do see survivors that, you know, they grew up with, you know, you made your bed, you know, lay in it. And so there's that. But there's also abuse by children, adult children of elderly or older family members and or disabled family members. And we get those calls as well because that's domestic violence too. We don't think of it as domestic violence, but it's because they're not intimate partners, but they're maybe living together. You have adult children stealing from parents, withholding food and medication, hitting them, other kinds of abuse. And older people are very afraid to come forward or may have cognitive issues and not come forward. And we've seen that.
Let's face it, nowadays is not like the olden days. Okay, in the olden days, you respected your elders, you respected everybody, and you never would even dare say something to your parents or to your elders. Nowadays, the kids are more emboldened. They have more power. They do, you know, they feel like they're more engaged in that kind of stuff. So they take steps and they step over the line once in a while.
Right.
And you have to be aware that's happening because it's definitely happening.
So what you're hearing is that information is power, information is health, and information is life. Yes?
Well, I think also there's the cases are so high of sexual assault in senior nursing homes. I think that might be what you were referencing.
One of the items, yes.
It's I don't know if you're I'm sure you're probably aware. It's so common right now in senior homes where I'm not talking about the seniors together. I'm talking about people that are working in them, sexually abusing them. Right? I know. It's almost an epidemic in some of the senior homes. But Dawn wanted to mention something.
Yes, thank you.
I just wanted to reiterate what you were saying in the beginning about red flags. The mental and emotional abuse that they start with first, it's the mind games, you know, and financial as well. You know, they pull the money and take control of you that way. And then, you know, the mental games of like, you know, oh, you know, all you do is eat bonbons, or you don't know how to cook, or you don't know this. They play the mind games to get you, you know, into the spot. And then, you know, the mental, you know, like you're not good enough, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do that, that you feel like they put you in this low place that you have nowhere else to go.
Right.
And you can't get out, and you're like, well, who's going to, you know, help me or take care of me or want me at this point? So you feel you have nowhere else to go, you know, until hopefully you get a support group that, you know, sees this and helps support you and builds you back up to give you the strength to leave. But generally, that mental and emotional abuse in the beginning is really what that gets you in, you know, that's how they pull you and keep you
I agree
at a
with
level.
You. Yep. And what we hear from participants in our support groups is that the mental and emotional abuse is the hardest thing to get over, because you know what? A physical injury, you know, okay, you know, my arm got broken, or, you know, I have a black eye or whatever, you know, that's physical, and, you know, I got over that and I'm better. But the mental and emotional abuse, that takes so long to get over and to rebuild your life and build yourself back up after you've been not only physically beaten down, but emotionally and mentally beaten down.
Yeah, and when they, you know, call the kids names, and it's just name calling all the time to keep you right here.
It's all part of that circle of abuse.
It
It just starts with that, you know, get that honeymoon phase where everything's hunky dory. You start getting into the tension stuff, and that's where the manipulation starts.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you get the triggers and stuff, and it just goes into
and
the,
it just
the
keeps
violence.
you like you don't know
And
what
it
you're
just keeps
doing.
going around
you
and
don't,
around.
you know. And they're the one who knows everything, and that's it. Yeah, it's a long vicious cycle. It took me a very long time to finally make that break, but it's what keeps you there for extremely long time because you feel you have nowhere else to go, and you just take it.
Well, you're very brave to.
So I just
come
wanted to
forward
say
and
that mental and emotional abuse. Just be aware of that. That's the first thing that really gets you trapped for the longest time.
We actually started an awareness campaign with billboards, and now we'll be doing posters, and it says abuse is not only physical. For that very reason, because people think, well, he didn't hit me, so how is this abuse? And in fact, The emotional and mental can be much worse in some ways. And financial. Yep.
Shut down the account, they open the account.
Right, you're exactly
so
right.
Your kids have
Controlling
one
the money.
day,
They use your kids against you too.
Yeah,
That too.
but fortunately,
Everything
he was
happens.
not able to do that. But
Yeah.
but then one day you can get money out and do things that the kids are paid for, whatever, and then the
Right.
next day, sorry, nope.
Yep.
It's up
Yep.
and down, all three things.
It's all part of the
horrible.
power and control. It's
Yeah.
all
We-
part of the same thing.
We've had people, oh, I'm sorry, there's somebody asking a question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, yes. I'm just wondering if you're doing anything to educate the. I know you're doing things to educate the children, the younger folks, high schoolers. But what is the focus on boys and girls? And or do you have a task force for educating boys as well as girls? or
Grade
just-
school, perhaps?
Good question,
We-
Paul.
All right, we have a couple different things that we're doing right now. We just started an initiative called Wide Awake. Okay, it's shedding light on domestic violence, sexual abuse, and missing persons. That we will go out and we will educate adults, companies, police departments. I've done several already. It is a full 75-minute presentation, starting off with Stephanie's story. Goes into a moderator who tells you all the statistics and all the nice stuff you really don't want to hear. And then we also have one of our victims, or one of our survivors, I should say, that'll tell their story. So it kind of hits from all different angles and fills people in and opens their eyes on what's actually happening out there. But that's the best way to get the awareness out, by keep talking about this stuff, keep getting it out there. And the more people that are willing to take those and bring us in, let us do that,
Right.
the more people are going to
Right.
be
And we
heard.
have similar services in the community as well. We'll talk to civic groups, church groups, schools, PTOs, PTAs, et cetera.
Holmdel Police Department had a really great program. I had never heard of it before. It's called Reducing the Risk, where they teach. It's free, and it's for juniors and seniors in high school. Like you said, Anna, the most vulnerable ages,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Are junior and seniors in high school, and then of the worst years, freshmen in college, correct?
Right. Correct.
So they're getting them before they go to college. The program's free. They ask for a parent to come. I think Officer Michael Piggott was
Oh, yeah.
one of
He's-
the officers overseeing the program. And they talk about roofying, right? We know roofying is putting the drugs in the drinks. And I don't know why people, so I'm so grateful to them for doing that program. And they teach some self-defense, warning signs as well, what to look for, et cetera. But now we have people making products, like you talked about the scrunchie that turns into the drink cap. There's also, I think on Shark Tank, there was a nail polish that somebody made that you dip your finger in the drink and it turns color.
all kinds of stuff.
So now all these products are being made, and we just have to talk about everything because, like I think Terrence, you mentioned, we take care of our kids all their lives, we're watching them, and then all of a sudden they go out the door and they go to college, right? Where it's a completely different dynamic. And we know the numbers are 1 in 5 are sexually assaulted. When we know that's just 1 in 5 reported, the numbers are really 1 in 3. So more of these programs of reducing the risk, and the programs you're talking about,
I find it
they
very
need to be in every school.
I find it very interesting that when we did Monmouth University and Brookdale College, we presented the presentation I was talking about. After the presentation, the students would come up to us and say, I wish we would have had this when we were in grade school. Okay, because they're not getting it. They don't know about it when they're going into college. It's just admitted it right there, right? And they're telling us that they wish they had that earlier,
Right.
which is what stemmed us to go to the middle schools to present to the Board of Education. To
Right,
get them
in an
there.
age-appropriate way, obviously,
Right.
to talk about relationships and, how to have healthy relationships.
Right. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and a message to oftentimes the ones involved in assault are sociopaths, narcissists, very smart people could be watching this right now. The message to them is stop. If selfishly you don't want to be in jail for the rest of your life, then you get help before help for your victim comes to you. And it'll be a totally different situation. Ed Parze, the Stephanie Nicole Parze Foundation, thank you so much for being here. Your information and knowledge has been so helpful to all the folks. And Anna Diaz-White, your experience is incredible. And we have your website, and your website, can you just share that with?
Sure, it's www.180nj.org.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank the time and talent for Ming from the Shared Universe podcast, folks. Again, and Bell Works for the importance of sharing this information with the public and empowering the folks that are here, the folks that are watching on Facebook live streaming, and the thousands of folks that will see this content. The lives that will be saved, you never know where the ripples in the pond are. And the guests that came here and you took out your valuable time to share a few minutes together with us today, thank you so much. And I'd like everyone to give yourselves and our guests a nice round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Terrence.
Thank you very much. So have a wonderful day and a safe day, and hopefully this information will matter to someone close to you, your family, your friends. Have a wonderful day, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ken.